Welcome back to our third class in understanding, connecting to, and experiencing the Jewish meditation work of MAKOM. The first time we met, we explored the very basic sense of MAKOM, the mem, the mayim, the kav in the middle, the line which is our human presence of hope, tikva, of kav, of direction. And of the very first time the word makom is used in the Torah, alongside yikavu hamayim lemakom echad, let all the waters be gathered to one makom, to one place. Yeah, that's a lot of what it is to be us as human beings, taking the formless resource of life, which is represented by water, and turning it into a direction and a specific presence, an individuated presence. There's nothing more special and unique than a singular human being in the entire universe. And so that's us, that's each one of you, as you discover more and more deeply through this process and through this brief program, the sense of you're having a makom, of having a place. And so initially we just did a very simple and basic makom meditation. And by the way, all of these will be very simple and basic meditations. It's really all you need for now and perhaps for your entire life. And I want to encourage you to continue reviewing and doing the initial meditation that we did of makom. Last time we moved ahead in the Chumash, in the Torah, from that first makom of the mayim to the man who was drawn out of the mayim, Moshe, and the way in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed him and gave him that place, that place that he awarded him by virtue of the tremendous failure of the Jewish people, but then Moshe Rabbeinu not only recouped, but actually moved us into a new relationship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, based on chen, chanaya, rachamim, rachum, kel rachum, vechanun, which becomes revealed to Moshe by virtue of Hashem bringing Moshe to the experience of place of hine, makom, iti. And I imagine that as you've been practicing this and singing this and saying this, so you're noticing also that it's kind of got a double meaning to it. Hine makom iti, Hashem says to Moshe and through Moshe to each one of us, you have a place with me, that I am your place always. But as you say it, there's also a kind of an undertone or a subtext of hine makom iti, that you're actually saying the makom is with me. And that's good. I like it. I like it that you shift between those two. That's what happens with me, and I think that's what happens with anyone as they begin to do this hityachadut, this unification with that verse and with that word. And so, yeah, I want to encourage you to appreciate that shifting as you connect more deeply to that place of rachamim, to that place of hine makom iti. This meeting, I'd like for us to now come to a point between the first waters and Moshe to the man Avraham, our great ancestor and great teacher. And one of the great teachings that comes out of Avraham is actually this connection to makom. We're told in Breshit that Avraham, when he prayed, actually what was the first prayer to Hashem that the Chumash records, that Avraham returned to the place where he had stood. Returned to the place where he had stood means that, well, as the rabbis put it, that he was kovea makom l'tfilah. He was someone who had established a place for prayer. Now this is interesting, and we're going to divide the exploration of this into at least two parts. First of all, this sense of kovea makom. We'll get to the prayer part next time. But first of all, kovea makom. The Maharal, one of the great teachers of Jewish thinking and exploring spiritual realities, teaches that kovea makom is not just a matter of a physical location, establishing a place for prayer. Kovea makom is a spiritual orientation of aligning oneself with place, really deeply establishing your presence in place before you pray. As I said, we'll get to the prayer part, but I want to tell you that Chazal actually say about a person who is kovea makom l'tfilato, that kviat makom actually aligns him with something which will later be talked about when he's reached the end of his life. An amazing thing that the rabbis say, that someone who's kovea makom, so when he's taken to his final resting place in the world, people say about him, hey Anav, hey Hasid. What an incredible Anav, which means a humble person. What an incredible Hasid, which, as we'll see, means great lover of life and appreciator of the preciousness of existence. That's what a Hasid is, as Chesed is actually the preciousness of existence which is experienced, which then we seek to share with others with acts of Chesed, right? When we share with them the joy of life by doing for them things that help them. So, but in its origin, it's to be a Hasid is to be someone who's connected to that preciousness of existence and of presence. So when a person's kovea makom l'tfilato, the Talmud says, people come to know him as an Anav and a Hasid. I want to very briefly explore with you the sense of the meanings of these words, and to invite us then into, in today's meditation, appreciating how we access being an Anav and a Hasid by virtue of the Makom meditation. And so, what do we mean when we talk about a humble person, an Anav? So that same teacher, the Maharal, explains that an Anav is someone who's really been stripped down of all statuses, all things that like make them feel bigger than someone else or smaller than someone else. A true Anav is someone who's simply present. And he says this in one of his teachings in Netiva Anava, where he actually talks about God as being the great Anav. The Talmud brings a statement of Rabbi Yochanan, of course, a person of Chen, as we've learned, that would be most appropriate for someone like him to talk about the idea of Makom, and says the following: Kol Makom, every place, he's playing on this, every place where you find HaKadosh Baruch Hu's greatness described, his being the supernal, vast God, you also find his anava, his humility described. They always come together, Rabbi Yochanan says. So when we have verses which talk about God as being the great, awesome God who rides the clouds or rides on the Kruvim, immediately after that it says, and who dwells with the lowly and is with the poor. What is that? What is that? That's all Rabbi Yochanan says. But the Maharal explains that as much as we know and primarily don't know of the nature of God, one thing we can say, one thing he's willing to say, and that is that God is simple. His unity implies that he is simple. Without getting overly philosophical, unity means I don't have sides to me, I don't have aspects, I don't have a geography, I don't have a body which is always a composite. I'm simply present. Simple being is actually the phrase that the Maharal coins. He's, I think, unique among all Jewish teachers, early Jewish teachers, who uses this Havaya Pshuta, simple being. Okay. So simple being means you're both great and vast, and with those who are most lowly. In fact, in a certain sense, you're most with those who are lowly because they don't have a position or a specificity or a status or an importance, right? You get that, how that works, I hope. That the more they're stripped down, the more they participate in simple being, right? So I know that a person who's poor is like, that's not like your image of someone of simple being. I get it. But if you think about it spiritually or in terms of the nature of that as it would appear in a spiritual reality. So that's just simple presence with nothing added on. Okay? Simple presence, nothing added on. That sounds very much like what we're looking to access when we're in MAKOM, simply being in MAKOM, simply being in place, connecting with place, connecting with the simplicity of place, aligning with that. Okay, you can see how much someone who's kovea MAKOM, who's connected to MAKOM, who's really embedded in MAKOM, would be an Anav. And I want to tell you this, like, this really does actually come out the way you end up relating to people. I can tell you, as someone who's, as you can tell, someone enamored with intellection and thinking about things, and that can actually lead a person to being a bit superior to others. I'm smarter than, or like I'm superior than, or I get it, they don't. Bad stuff, which I hope I've grown through already, but has been present in my life. I used to teach Talmud when I was a Rosh Yeshiva, and at a certain point I realized, the truth is, as I got more and more into meditation, I realized, like, there's too much one-upmanship going on in my class. It's like, there's too much one-upmanship going on in this kind of a learning. And the truth is, the rabbis say that Babylonian learning, the Talmud of Bavli, has a lot to do with people kind of battling each other. But the Talmud of Eretz Yisrael, the Talmud of Israel, the land of Israel, is actually about people being man'imim zelazeh, making things pleasant for each other, supporting each other. It's kind of the difference between when someone says something and you say, well, man, you got it wrong, as opposed to saying, there's something really true in what you just said. Let's explore that together. I want to explore that. I think that's amazing. Right? Okay, there's all kinds of other stuff maybe that was like off, but there's always something which you can develop and grow into together. So like man'imim is such a beautiful word because the noam, the pleasantness, actually is a word which has to do with movement, to nu'ah, right? We're able to move together. We kind of flow together. We can dance together with this, right? That's really how it works, and that's how it's experienced. So I can tell you that one of the things which I've noticed over the years, and it's years, it's not immediate, that I've got much more like that. And I tell you that because I really do believe that it's an impact of this kind of meditation in which I have become, and I pray for you that you become more of an Anav. So you'll find yourself having more compassion for others as you discover your place. So you want to see them experiencing and knowing their place, that they have a place. That's very, very important, very, very significant, okay? That's from lesson 2. And now in lesson 3, that you become more of an Anav, that the levels, the status, the name you make for yourself, the adulation, the approval, all that stuff, and the superiority, just become like less and less what it is that you're about as you become more and more aligned with MAKOM, more and more aligned with the divine reality of anava, of that kind of humility. Humility is a bit of a risky translation because it sometimes means that you're lower than others, and it's not about that. It's about sameness with just the simplicity of existence which we all share. Yeah. Okay. So here, let's connect to that. Next time, we'll explore what it means to be a chassid more. The Anav, who is the person who is kovea makom. So this has been an exploration of the wisdom of a particular aspect of what we're exploring. Now we want to be able to bring this into our hearts, to bring it into our being, to actually be transformed by it. And that's something which happens by virtue of hitbonenut ruchanit, of this meditative process and practices that I'm going to be teaching. And so if you'd like to join me for that, so press the link which is down in the description of this video or is appearing now on the screen. Just press on that and you'll be able to move right over to where we'll be practicing the meditative work. I'll see you there.